X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I am Zach. Adam,
Yeah.
how are you today?
I'm great. I haven't committed even just one war crime, so I'm feeling pretty good about
That's
it.
interesting because I here have been thinking a lot about state security apparatus and thinking a lot about the ethically gray area that they operate in. Is the good of the many outweighing the good of the few? Who gets to decide who the few and the many are? Is any war crimes acceptable? These are the deep philosophical questions that you and I are going to wrestle with.
That's right. I mean, this is
today.
basically like our Zero Dark 30 episode, because we're talking about Beast today, everybody's favorite villain.
The thing about Beast, and we'll get into it, is that he doesn't wrestle with these intellectual questions. He has firmly planted his mutant feet, which that's not because he's a mutant. It's literally his feet are the weird. Like, you remember in X-Men First Class when they showed his horrible CGI feet?
Dude's got big feet.
Dude's got weird feet. They're not just big. Like, listen. There's people with big feet. He's got weird feet.
He's got baloney feet.
You know, there's got to be people who are really excited about Beast. Sharing feet pics on Insta. They're always asking about that feet reveal.
You made it weird. So you're saying Quentin Tarantino's favorite X-Man is Beast?
Quentin Tarantino's favorite X-Man is 150% Beast. No doubt in my mind.
Now, we've talked about Beast's shady actions before, many times on this program, but this is an entire episode devoted to it. Who requested this exploration?
Yeah, this exploration of the many war crimes of Hank McCoy comes to us from Jaral Kala. Jaral went over to patreon.com/comicsxf, said, I like what you guys are doing, and I want to unlock the feet pics tier. So here's some money. And while I'm waiting for that to be unraveled, could you please talk about the war crimes of Hank McCoy?
Yeah. So we're going to go in reverse chronological order, which is not what we normally do, but we have a very good reason for it, and we'll get to that later. But we're going to start with a pretty recent story.
Yeah, this is part of the Dawn of X. I think it's funny, Adam, that we have covered two Dawn of X stories. And Dawn of X has been going on for a while. Like, these are from early 2020. So like these are I mean, January 2020. The first story here is 2 years old now.
That's right.
Man, the pandemic really did a number on us, didn't it?
Time is meaningless.
But this is the only... Oh no, we covered a few other Dawn of X series. Never mind. But this is the one we've come back to the most, and it is X-Force. We're actually... you can hear Ben Percy talk about it on this show, but the structure of X-Force means that some stories come and go in different arcs. But this ties up pretty good as like 3 issues that all go together and just have another arc between them. It's X-Force 6, 9, and 10. It's the Terra Verde arc. It's written by Benjamin Percy, friend of the show, with art on number 6 by Hellions artist Steven Segovia and colors by Guru EFX. Who also colors 10. And then Joshua Cassara and Dean White do the work on 9 and Cassara on 10. Before we get into... No, we'll save it. We'll save talking about how good Joshua Cassara is.
Well, Segovia is no slouch either. The art on these issues is fantastic, as is Guru Effects, who just just dials it up into this another level. But we'll get into it, because especially the Cassara issues are just like, especially the Green Lagoon issue,
lush.
Is just like over the top.
So issue 6 is narrated by Beast. He is the head of X-Force.
Right.
He is the brains. He calls himself the Dark Conductor. And he is speaking through this entire mission where X-Force goes and does a Black Ops mission in a small Latin American country and destabilizes their government. A thing that no good country would ever do, right, Adam? No one would ever destabilize South American governments for their own political gain, would they?
Well, this is first of all, this is really the first time that the book very explicitly is like, hey, we are the Krakoan CIA.
Yeah, because the first issue is really, or the first arc is security of Krakoa.
Right. But this is the first time
revenge for that.
We're doing regime change, and it does come in response to yet another potential assassination attempt on Professor Xavier that Black Tom helps Xavier avoid. But Terra Verde is being taken over by these sort of like biological parasitic organisms that Beast is...
The telefloronics.
Yes, and Beast is fairly concerned that this could basically like take over the world as sort of like a biological Nimrod.
Well, he's concerned about that. He's also very concerned about the capitalist interests of Krakoa. A post-scarcity society, by the way.
Right.
So Krakoa, who does not need to deal in the zero-sum game of capitalism, except to exert force on capitalist societies like the rest of the world, more or less. Beast is concerned that Terra Verde can use their telefloronics, which have enough similarities to Krakoan technology, to gain some sort of competitive either advantage or level playing field with Krakoa. So, in order to set them back technologically, he has to orchestrate this whole regime change, essentially, or at max regime change, at minimum heavy amounts of threatening and
it does result
coercion.
It does result in the death of the president's son, who has been fully infected with this telefloronic stuff, and basically they ship him back a pile of mush that then transforms into the yet another green monster, which then in the following issues, X-Force has to go back and try and take care of after it is basically Beast has committed genocide, because once he's shipped back the son, the telefloronics take over. I don't know how much of Terra Verde, that's a little unclear, but it's a lot of it.
Most of everybody.
Right.
So we say Beast did a genocide, and you and I were talking about this off air. It's important to recognize that Beast's actions led to the complete and utter death of a country.
Yes, absolutely.
But this is key. What I'm about to say is key to Beast's entire characterization in X-Force, and I think something that on the surface level a lot of people are missing or glossing over.
Okay.
Is that Beast frames himself in issue 6 as the Dark Conductor. Like, he has all of this under control. He knows what he's doing. He's the smartest man in the room, and nothing would happen without him. Beast didn't intentionally do a genocide. Beast hecked up really bad because he didn't understand what he was playing with and was cocky and just believed he was right beyond all else. And then a genocide happened due to those actions because Beast is not actually a very good Dark Conductor. He's not been successful at any of these things. He has just been cleaning up messes left and right.
Yeah, and this will come back later in the episode, but the thing that makes Beast villainous is different. You and I were talking before we came on about the difference between Beast and Dark Beast. Dark Beast is kind of just like a Silver Age silliness. You know, I'm going to torture you. I'm going to mess you up in like my dark, sinister lab. Beast is like the mad scientist who thinks he's doing something good for everybody and doesn't realize the horrible implications of what his actions are. And even after those horrible implications, still doesn't quite process how much harm he's done and will do things rash again and again and again.
Beast's hubris.
Yeah.
Is so much different than Dark Beast. Mm-hmm. Like, in such a fascinating way, because this is Hank McCoy, and we'll see it in other places through here, but Hank McCoy hit a point where he believes that he knows best. You can retcon things like him taking the serum that turned him blue and furry as him saying, well, nothing bad will happen here to me,
Right.
the smart one. But really, in a story that we have already covered, it happens when the legacy virus kicks off and he starts to make deals and deals to save his people. And he starts to position himself as the man who's willing to make the hard choices and be the monster so that other people can, have a better life.
Yeah. And
you see this here. You see this with
endangered species,
endangered species.
Yeah,
Yes,
where
that's
the
one I was
ethical
thinking.
line just starts, keeps moving and eventually sort of goes away. So eventually Beast has to send X-Force back in to try and eliminate this problem, and ends up sending Black Tom into this mess, which is pretty much like taking over X-Force. And they do manage to kind of like resolve the situation to a certain extent, but it's not without its violence.
No, they have to continue this genocide to the point that Jean Grey, who had been on this team and had been willing to do the investigative work and like cross lines for Krakoa, she has enough.
Mm-hmm.
She is the first member of the team to find her line and say, no, this I will not be a part of anymore.
Right.
And it's important. Like that's the reason why she's on this team, because she doesn't fit. And she's not supposed to. She's supposed to be in this situation. She's put in this group because she's the one who they best trust to operate Cerebro at the time when they need to operate Cerebro to put Xavier back, and she gets tied in with all of this. And she follows it because she's a good little soldier who does what she's supposed to for her people. Like, that's been part of her character. And here's where she says, I don't care what the professor says. This is wrong. I'm not doing this. And Beast, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, because Jean is put in a very awkward position in that she has to use her telepathic powers to turn their combined powers into what she describes as technobiological malware, which is eventually what kills all of the infected Terra Verdians. It's I think that this, and I want to get into Green Lagoon because that's sort of like its own
We'll
capsule.
get to the art because I also have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, and the annihilation of it all. But this arc in particular is what really sold me on this book, because the team dynamic is there. You get an idea of who's willing to do what the sort of calculations are of its leadership, but then also what are we willing to do and what are the consequences of that? And I think all of that is really, really interesting. We get into Domino's wiped memories here, which still have yet to be addressed again. We're getting into Quentin, who is, kind of doing his Kenny from South Park thing where he keeps dying. Everybody is sort of getting into what their roles are in this book. And I think it works really, really well.
One other thing that works really well, reading this in retrospect, it's the Chronicler, the character that in current times has just recently been introduced, maybe a few months back in the pages of X-Force, as the person in Russia who Mikhail Rasputin is making all this stuff happen through. He is a writer, a mutant writer who can control people if he writes them more or less within character. And you get data pages here. And I remember at the time there was discussion, probably even on, I'm sure even on CXF, about how, hey, it's weird that Percy is telling and not showing some of these actions. And you can argue back and forth if that was an effective storytelling choice. But in retrospect, it's very interesting to see what things the chronicler has written these characters into doing versus what they are doing of their own volition. Charles Xavier set himself up in a situation where he could be assassinated because the chronicler wanted it to happen, because Russia wanted it to happen. You have Beast doing this genocide and Jean quitting the team, more or less like being pushed by the chronicler. Like, those pages are saying, this is the way the story is going to go now.
Yeah, I think it's definitely
fascinating.
It's definitely worth revisiting. You pointed this out to me before we went on, and I had not revisited these issues since that reveal. So it had not even crossed my mind to go back and revisit. I remember reading these originally and wondering why the Cyrillic was there. What are these pages about? But it just never dawned on me to make that connection. Now that I have, I think, revisiting these stories is going to have another layer of nuance to them, which is pretty cool. Now we should probably get into the artwork. Like I said, Segovia, no slouch. The artwork on that first issue is great, but Kasara, my God, man, just like dialing it up to 1,000. We have this entire sequence at the beginning of issue 9 with the introduction of the Green Lagoon, which is Blob's sort of like tiki bar. It is one of the coolest world building things that they have done since they started this whole Krakoan era.
And the whole thing, like they knew that they needed a place to congregate, like a place where can the mutants be casual and like relax at. And Kasara was the one who said, "I want to do a tiki bar. Can it be a tiki bar?" And it adds so much tone to the book and to the line as a whole. It's one of the greatest like little things that they added in here. Having Freddie Dukes run it, one of my favorite things. Having that incredible double page spread that Kasara does that just shows the layout of everything, has all these people doing a Where's Waldo looking adventure of here's all of the X-Men characters that are here in the bar at this moment. It's phenomenal. And it's not even the best part of these 2 issues of 9 and 10. Like, that's not even the best that Kasara gets in these.
It is amazing just how much storytelling is taking place on those 2 pages. Not only with the sheer number of characters, but also the tiny vignettes of their interactions, the little Easter eggs of helmets and hats that are left around, which character is cuddling up to who. Is there a shadow here? Is that Claremont at the bar? Like, what are we looking at here? And it's just such a fun thing. But you're right. I think the other thing that we have to give Kasara credit for is not just these Easter egg type things that he's doing here, but the biological horror, the body horror. And, I mentioned Annihilation briefly before. There are these like
That's the you're talking about the movie based on the Jeff Vandermeer book, Annihilation.
Yes, the Alex Garland movie. It appears to be referenced almost directly. The president sort of appears very, very similar to a scene that happens in the film with his body, the bottom half of his body missing and sort of replaced by all sort of flowers and plants. Later on,
it looks like the swimming pool scene from the film.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, if you haven't seen Annihilation, I'm constantly thinking about it.
I love that movie. One of my all-time faves. And I don't know if you read this. There was a suggestion on Vandermeer's Twitter account recently that there might be a 4th book within a couple years.
No, he has said explicitly there's going to be a 4th
pretty
book.
Exciting.
I'm currently reading Acceptance because I read Annihilation and Authority, and I was like, these are both really good, and I just wasn't in a place to read another book at the time, so I took a break, and now I'm reading Acceptance, and I'm like, I like Jeff Vandermeer.
I can't wait to get your reaction when you finish that one. So
I'm 2 chapters in, and I'm like, oh yeah, this rules. Yeah. It's what's kind of weird and funny is this is not the first time that Ben Percy references Annihilation as a like touch point. That's like just a few months earlier in Weapon Plus World War IV, World War IV, but IV because it's about manslaughter.
Right.
The man thing, his Man of Ivy, with Georges Gentry. That's like an explicit Annihilation. Like it's just this is the plot of Annihilation, and we're doing it.
Yeah. Here it's mainly in the imagery, but we have these beautiful, just the painterly quality that Guru Effects adds to what Kasara is already putting down on the page. But we have these like organic, twisted bark creations that turn into wildlife, or flowers blooming from Quentin Quire's corpse, and it's just so visually stimulating. And it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's stunning. It truly, truly is. And I am absolutely thrilled that we got to see this. I liked Kasara before this. Mm-hmm. This is when I understood just how big he was going to be. Because he's not had like a big book before. Mm-hmm. That's just not been his time in the comics industry. And he is just killing it. I'm so glad that he's got 10 Lives of Wolverine, where he can really get like a big, explosive moment for everybody.
Yeah. A lot of splash pages, a lot of like action content in that so far. So very excited to see him stretch his legs here. We've been talking about this book a lot. I think it's a really fun, great story from the first couple, the first wave of Dawn of X and Krakoa. Let's rank this.
Yeah, because we rank stories on our big old master list of all of the X-Men stories of all time. We're on the road to 600, and brother, that road is quickly coming to an end. Yeah. The number 1 story on our list is The House of X, The Powers of 10. The number 100th story on our list is The Further Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix. The number 200th story on our list is X-Men 75, The Anatomy of a Monster. Number 300 on our list is New Mutants, Truth or Death. Number 400 on our list is The End of X Factor, the stuff with Xavier's Underground Enforcers. The number 500th story on our list is Pride and Wisdom. And the bottom story is the Draco at 597. I mean, okay, buddy. Okay, here's what I'm going to ask.
I think is
this better than Empire X-Men at 104?
That was the first place I looked, and I think Empire X-Men is sort of a fun experiment in terms of how it's done. But I think this is a more concrete statement as to what the vision is of this world. And it's done both through the writing and the art. And I think it's better. I would put this probably in the top 100, I think.
So I think that's where I'm looking. So not too far above it. At 96 is the Hickman New Mutants stuff. And I think going back, I probably enjoy those as a whole a bit more, but that may just be because those are a complete story.
Yeah.
And also Rod Reese is not exactly a slouch.
No. And I would probably give the edge to those New Mutants issues, because read all together, they are just a hoot. But I think these are very much on par with that. At
98, we have X-Men Black Emma Frost, which is a story I think I like a bit more. Mm-hmm. And at 99, we have Everything is Sinister from Uncanny X-Men Volume 2, 1 through 3, which is the story where Sinister takes over the head of Tiamat, the Dreaming Celestial, from the major motion picture, The Eternals.
Yeah, Sinister is a system. I think I would put this in between those two. I would put it just ahead of the Gillen,
okay.
But then put it below that Emma Frost one shot.
You know what? I think we're in a good space.
Yeah.
So the Terra Verde arc is our new number 99. Great showing.
It's really good. And I think if you were looking for places to pop in, if you haven't been reading this era, that is a great place to go.
Yeah, folks, if you haven't actually been reading X-Force, because you're not someone who reads X-Force, maybe go to just jump on the app and run through it, because X-Force rules.
It's one of the best
I
books.
know Percy's not for everybody. X-Force rules. If you care about contemplative stories of violence and the cost of humanity, is a good one. Let's go to something less thoughtful.
Well, if we want to talk about the cost of humanity, we might as well get into the era of Nick Spencer's Secret Empire. Why don't we? This is X-Men Blue numbers 7 to 9.
Okay, so you know Krakoa, right?
I'm familiar. Yes.
So directly before Krakoa, when I was about to say when Captain America, but that's not really true. When the Cosmic Cube created an alternate Captain America whose history and memories had been altered so that he had grown up and was raised as a Nazi, in a secret Nazi, even if Nick Spencer and other executives within the Marvel Comics organization want to say that he's not a Nazi or that you shouldn't punch
He's
Nazis
the real
or something,
Captain America, they said. He's the real one.
The real Captain America. Y'all are nuts for saying that it's anything but the real Captain America. When that Captain America did become God King of the USA and took over everything, listen, the mutants were the biggest concern that he had. And Captain America handed Magneto Red Skull's skull and said, here's a bigger Nazi that you specifically hate more. Would you like California also? And stay out of my way?
Which is the dumbest and most unbelievable plot point that you could possibly have in this scenario. To think that Magneto would sit it out in in any way, shape, or form. But they do in...
The devil to that, Nazi scum!
So the Utopia is brought back, the capital of New Tian.
You know about Tian, right?
Now Tian is the Inhumans island, isn't it?
No, that's Atalan.
Oh, that's Atalan. What's Tian again?
Well, Tian originally was the secret city from Warren Ellis's astonishing X-Men Ghost Box.
Right, yes.
But more relevant to this, New Tian was the island nation in the Southeast Asian Republic, in Ultimate Comics Hawkeye.
That's
where Zorn of the Celestials and Zorn of the Eternals ruled the new mutant race.
Yeah.
And Secret Agent Karen Grant, who was actually Jean Grey, then became God Queen of that island.
I really like that story. Is so weird. I don't know if it's good, but it was interesting.
No, that story is a dry run for a lot of the ideas that Hickman would later do better.
100%. This New Tian is run, I guess, by Zorn, at least by all appearances, but really it's being...
Oh, King Zorn.
Yes, King Zorn, but it's really being shadow run by Emma Frost, Sebastian Shaw, and our friend Beast.
Beast, who decides, I will work with Nazis on this one, because I will compromise my morals to deal with this. Now, Emma Frost also does this, but as we all know, Emma Frost is being written very, very poorly.
Well, this is post-IVX Emma. This is like super crazy villain, I put on a weird helmet Emma, even though she's not wearing that costume here.
This is worse than 80s Emma.
Oh, yeah, this doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't even... We don't have to get in. No, we do, because this is the first Emma story afterwards, isn't it? This is the first Emma story after IVX.
Yeah.
And what it is... So, again, none of this is really set up in Secret Empire or in this tie-in. But the O5, who are in the past, or here in the past, they are currently operating out of Madripoor, but then secretly operating out of the Redwood Forests to run a rebellion against the mutant government of New Tian, which is frankly, it's a weird choice. New Tian is putting humans into concentration camps, kind of, which again, buck wild decision here. They just
also putting
the thing about Secret Empire,
also putting mutants who don't get in line into camps. Like,
it's a very fascist state.
It makes zero sense why this would exist, why anyone would agree to this. I mean, there's like one or two panels of like people walking down the street like super happy, but like, no, why?
How did they take over California? The problem with Secret Empire as an event is that it makes no sense.
Oh, well, that's
in any capacity.
Yeah.
I understand the rise of fascism is not like cool and good and can happen faster than you think. But this is like...
Yes, but hold on.
It's like a...
But the problem with this as sort of like the metaphor behind the story, right, is that...
Oh, there's a metaphor here? I'd love to hear it.
No. But if we're saying that the impetus for this story is like the concern of the rise of fascism within America, right?
Which I 100% believe that the, say what you will about them, very coastal liberal Marvel Comics group, when they set this up in 2016, were like, well, Trump's not going to win, Hillary's going to be president, and this is a funny what if.
And very possibly, right? The issue with this as a storyline is that so many of our beloved characters then sort of go, shrug, I guess we're fascists too. And that is like so antithetical to everything we know about these characters. So we get these scenarios where the O5, the time displaced O5, are fighting a strike team made up of Wolfsbane, Marrow, Toad, Firestar, and Mondo, who are there to like assassinate them. What?
Oh, and Wolfsbane and Archangel and Havoc.
Right. Yeah. Well, Havoc was like Axis at that
Havoc's
point,
going through
right?
some stuff.
So that
Havoc's still dealing with Axis.
And what does stink about this is that this has to be the context for some actually kind of cool little things. Like, this is the first appearance of Wolfsbane being able to turn into multiple wolves.
I want to... Adam, do you think that's good?
I think it's really silly, and I
think it's the dumbest thing in the world, and the only thing that's good about it is that friend of the show, Vita Ayala, said, nope, you guys screwed that one up. We're not letting that go away. Wolfsbane could be 5 wolves now.
We didn't mention...
That's good.
We didn't mention
Vita
this.
bringing it back is good.
Yeah.
It existing in the first place is terrible. And listen, we haven't actually said the creative teams.
I was just going to say. Cullen Bunn.
Cullen Bunn doing his best.
Yes. Corey Smith.
Did not want to write
and
this.
Matt Noah.
We go back to our interview with Cullen Bunn if you want to hear one of the rawest, like, I really didn't want to do this book, y'all, kind of moments. A moment where I think as recording, I was like, I don't know if we should let him keep talking, but this is really good.
Yeah. So, there's definitely, you can tell, some reluctance in the script writing here. And
just to throw it out there, Corey Smith, Joey Vasquez, and Tony Silas are all the credited artists on these 3 issues.
Yes. I do like the reveal. The O5 are captured by Nution, and that includes Magneto's friend / like sponsor. What's her name? From
Briar Raleigh.
Briar Raleigh, thank you. From the Cullen Bunn Magneto series, who appears here. And Jean and Jimmy, the other Wolverine.
Oh, Jimmy Hudson, the Wolverine from the Ultimate Universe, who had lost his memory.
Who we still haven't seen.
Because he's a Venom now.
Oh, right. He got Venomized. Yeah.
He's a Poison.
Yeah. Has he been back?
No.
Okay.
Why?
I don't know.
No.
I mean, there's another Wolverine.
No one wants him back. Listen. Cullen Bunn wanted him back because he did Ultimate Comics Wolverine, and he's like, well, I got this Mother Vine thing that I would like to do. And the Mother Vine's the most interesting concept that gets introduced in X-Men Blue. It's weird that he has a completely different cast to deal with it than his actual cast because they got suckered into the Venom event, but go off.
Yeah. So Jean, Jimmy stage a rescue. It turns out that their Blackbird is actually Danger in disguise. And then out of nowhere, Polaris shows up to help out. So, there's some fun character stuff happening here, but it all amounts to just about nothing because that, like, after these issues, all of this is not going to be the context anymore. It's not going to be the world, so why do we care?
There are no stakes.
No.
In any of this. Emma Frost is written bizarrely.
Oh.
Even outside of IVX, this is... I feel like this is someone trying to make IVX work and failing. Because Emma's super horny for Teen Scott in this and thinks she can make him her Scott.
That is really creepy.
Like,
yeah.
Y'all, I understand that you wanted to do... Like, I know that IVX and Death of X tried to do a story about grief and failed pretty hard. This is the worst version of that. And that's already it's already a low bar.
Yeah. I mean, everybody here, and I feel bad for Bun, everybody here is written into a corner because they've been handed these status quos and these crossovers that really don't serve the characters at all and are not true to them or anything. So it is not good.
They're just the worst.
Yeah.
They are people are like, oh no, the IVX era was bad or the Bendis era was bad. Y'all know. There was they weren't all good. The freaking Colors era honestly might be,
It's pretty rough.
It's up there with the most atrocious X-Men has ever been.
But here's what I will say is that if you are reading X-Men Blue, you could completely skip this arc and be fine. You know, like there's maybe one or two reveals like Danger that, you know, and that the last page is a teaser about Mother Vine. But aside from that, you don't really need to read this. It is absolutely superfluous and meaningless ultimately. So, you know,
It's a bad issue. Folks.
yeah, I mean, and
I like Zorn. I like Zorn. I don't like that Zorn is the puppet fascist king of California.
Yeah, he breaks out of it eventually, but then the artwork is fine, the coloring is nice, but there's just nothing here of real value. So it's a bummer on all accounts.
It's so much of the worst parts of 2017 Marvel. Like, it's the most dire Marvel Comics stuff all in one.
Yeah. So we should rank this. Clearly, this is not a top 100 story.
Oh, buddy, no, it's not. We listen. The record can show we have some X-Men Blue that we do like.
Oh, definitely. This ain't it.
Cross Time Capers is at 184, and that's it. Yeah, that's all the X-Men Blue that's on this list.
Listen.
So worse than that, worse than 369 Gambit Tombstone Blues.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I feel like the bare minimum a 400 story, right? I mean, like, I'm looking down. Is this as bad as like
It's worse than Firestar.
Oh, definitely. How do you feel about it compared to the first 6 issues of Mystique at 488?
Mystique's better.
Mystique is better. Okay,
Mystique's unquestionably better.
Yeah, so we're shooting down towards the bottom of the 400s already.
This is better. I found my floor is Captain Marvel 2 and 3, the Adam X the Extreme Retcon, because this is telling a comprehensible story. It's just a story that doesn't make sense given even the recent history of these characters.
Yeah. But I would still rather revisit Heroes for Hope at 503.
I mean, Heroes for Hope's better than this, yeah. Star Trek. The Star Trek X-Men comics are better than this. Iceman is better than this. The first volume of Iceman.
Yep.
With J.M. DeMatteis.
I would agree. I think we're on par with something like Sabretooth and Mystique at 513.
I would actually say under Sabretooth and Mystique, above Emma Frost 1 through 6, Higher Learning.
I agree.
At 514.
I like that. That's a great spot. So this is going to be our new 514.
The Blue Era was bad. Beast Warcrime in that one was dealing with fascism.
Yeah, not a central character, but we're going to get back to it because Zach, I believe our road to 600 has come to an end. We're at 600.
Is that 600 off in yonder distance over said clearing there?
It is. What should we cover for our 600th story?
I want to be very clear. This was not on our list initially, and then we realized that we were going to hit the road to 600 today, and we said, oh my gosh, it's already on theme. And it's Uncanny X-Men 600, the Trial of
That
Beast.
is correct. The much delayed final issue of Bendis's run.
Man, if I ever get a microphone in 5 minutes with Brian Michael Bendis,
It's going to be all about
I am
this.
only asking him about the end of his X-Men. There's so many questions I have for Brian Michael Bendis. I need to know about this.
Yeah. Well, this issue is written by Bendis, and it is a jam art issue. So it features, good God,
Sarah Pichelli, Mohamed Assar, Stuart Immonen, Chris Anka, Chris Bachalo, David Marquez, and Fraser Irving.
Yep. With color.
What a killer!
Yeah.
What a killer lineup.
Inks by Wade Von Grawbadger, Tim Townsend, Mark Irwin, and colors by Marte Gracia, Jason Keith, Chris Bachalo, and Fraser Irving.
Hey, Chris always looks better when he colors himself, right?
I love it when he colors himself.
So good.
And also a tremendous number of fantastic variant covers. I happen to have one of my personal faves, which is the Olivier Coipel Aussie X-Men cover, which is just like an absolutely gorgeous piece of artwork. So
all of the variant covers to this
very
rule.
Cool. But this,
there's a Rick Leonardi one, a Lanil Francis Yu one, a Paul Smith one.
Yeah.
Adam Hughes has a great one. Chris Anka has an incredible one. Art Adams has a really good one.
Yeah.
And the main cover is, like, I had the main cover as a poster in my house until I moved.
So, really delayed on this one. This kept getting pushed back, I think, because of, in part, the sheer number of people that it took to put together, but also because of Secret Wars.
Here's what happened. I don't know why it got pushed back, but my understanding is the issue was more or less done for a while. It came out the same day as Extraordinary X-Men #1 did, which kicked off the IVX era. Yeah. And that's a weird parallel to read. Because this story starts out, the X-Men have called Beast in to have what they call a trial, which is a really aggressive way to describe.
They don't call it a trial. They suggest
Beast
an intervention. Does. Beast calls it a trial.
They're sitting down and they're saying, Beast, I think we need to talk about our feelings about Cyclops here, because you may have taken things a bit too far, and we're at fault for enabling you on that.
Yep.
We all had part in continuing your little dalliances, but we need to talk about it.
Yeah, especially Storm is pretty upfront with Beast and saying, like, yeah, we can't have you continuing to dabble with the laws of space and time and physics, because eventually this is going to get, it's already gotten to the point where we don't really know what the timeline is anymore. And
and here's the thing, this was something that Bendis was seeding in his recent past. Age of Ultron, the event, was supposed to have broken time and space and all this stuff, which allowed Todd McFarlane's Neil Gaiman's Angela to come into the Marvel Universe. I'm sorry, Neil Gaiman's Todd McFarlane's Angela.
Thank you.
It's very important. No, but Bendis had been trying to do something with this, and even in like the Black Vortex event, Beast has the revelation of, oh no, I did screw up badly.
Right. Yeah.
My problem with that is you can't say that this guy is using time travel irresponsibly when you're in the Marvel Universe.
And Reed Richards has been doing it for decades. I mean, it's like...
Everyone's using time travel irresponsibly. It can't break time. That's not the... Oh no, they brought the X-Men back from the past. Yo, Doctor Strange is literally doing that right now. It's fine. It's fine. It happens. It all works out. It's fine.
As a character arc, though, I do find it kind of compelling, this whole idea of Beast, like, starting off all new... it was all new X-Men, right? Where he...
All new
yes,
X-Men.
And then it leads into Uncanny. Bringing the 05 back, having this sort of wistful idea of like how he's going to stop Scott from whatever the hell he's doing. And here they're basically saying, look, you lied to us. We're here. We're now stuck here. We can't have you fiddling around with this anymore because we don't know what else you're going to do. Like they even blame him for, which I think is interesting. They kind of put the blame for the future Brotherhood version of Beast on him too, because they're like, we don't know what you're going to become and who you're going to enable, because then the future is also coming back and trying to kill us.
I was talking to somebody today about this who asked, I don't know how Brian Michael Bendis feels about Cyclops. I think he might hate him, but some of his characters like him. And one, I think he's a comic book nerd, so he loves Cyclops.
Yeah, of course.
Like he just like he loves Beast and he loves other characters. This is like, he wouldn't be. Have you seen what he did to Daredevil? He does this to characters he likes. But he positions Beast and Cyclops very interestingly in All New X-Men #1 and Uncanny 600, where the story frames Beast as correct and good in his actions and Cyclops as rogue terrorists. But if you look at his actions, none of that makes sense. Right. And people complain about that. And no, I'm like, that was that was just writing good.
Yes.
That was knowing story structure. Was like, you're able to see something's wrong here. And if you look at 600 and how it positions each of those characters, everyone has now come around and said, Beast, we were all like dealing with some stuff at the moment, but you way overreacted, and in your hubris, bad things happened. Meanwhile, Cyclops is doing like a idealized version of MLK's March on Washington.
I'm curious what your thoughts on that are. One of the things that I have always faulted Bendis with in his stories with All New and Uncanny is that he generally can't stick the landings. In particular, the very rushed reveal of Dark Beast as the character that had been poisoning Emma and the rest of the Phoenix Five and their power sets and all that stuff is revealed so quickly and so rushed. And we have a similar problem here because the last few pages are Chris Bachalo doing this March on Washington, Cyclops getting up there and saying, every mutant in the world is here. Well, we don't really know how that happened.
They're not, and it's fine.
And that's fine. And hey, we're all being peaceful here, so everything's cool. Everything's cool. You know, this is utopia again. And Magneto comes down and he's like, man, yeah, I don't know about this, but Professor X would have loved it. So, hey, let's be chill. Right. And that's okay, but it's also a little bit like fantastic in a way that doesn't quite feel real. So one, I think from a character arc standpoint and what Bendis was doing with Cyclops and with Magneto, like this is the way that it ends. This is the way it has to end, is Cyclops being positioned as not a reactionary, as a pacifist figure, and doing the thing that reduces like Martin Luther King in a way that like it does when the History Channel puts out things that says, actually, Professor X was based on Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Magneto are the same person. Nope.
Right? We understand both history and comics.
Incorrect.
It literally, they updated that article this year. It really pissed me
Jesus
off.
Christ.
But it's fine. It's fine. Go read. Jude Jones wrote an amazing piece on Comics XF about it. Go read it. I do understand that from like a character arc standpoint, that makes sense for what he's doing with Cyclops. I agree with you. It reads as fantastical because this came out in 2015, and I believe all of us have now become very jaded.
It's not even me just being cynical, though. I think that it just... The other thing that he's doing throughout, and we haven't mentioned this at all, is that in between these confrontations with Beast, and I want to get back to the very end of this book, which I think is amazing.
Yes.
But they're interspersed with these little... Bendis is just trying to catch up with everything. He has a little vignette with the all-new X-Men team, with the 05 hanging out in the woods that's absolutely gorgeous, the way that Imminent draws it. We get a reunion scene between Magic and Colossus, and then we also get, which I think was supposed to be kind of like the other centerpiece of this issue, is this conversation between young Bobby and adult Bobby about whether adult Bobby is going to come out of the closet now that young Bobby has. And
which the young Iceman reveal sounds gross, but it is also what Gene does to him. Of him coming out had only happened 2 issues beforehand. Like, there was a big gap, but it was supposed to be, this was in pretty quick succession.
Yeah, and it's an interesting scene. I think that what Bendis is trying to do throughout this issue is to set up a new status quo for what's going to come next. But of course, none of it really flies because after Secret Wars, the status quo gets shaken up into these weird, teams, and it's just a kind of a mess.
Imagine reading these one after another, because I did, and it sucked.
Yeah.
Like, I think the ending of this is a little fanciful. I think the whole, actually we are peaceful protesters and now everyone can respect us because we're being respectable, is a whole thing that I like to hope that a lot of people have either turned on that thinking or moved past. And I know it's not as many as I want, and I'm in a bit of a bubble when it comes to that. But it is really jarring to go from that to Extraordinary X-Men #1, where it's, by the way, everything's worse.
What I do really want to compliment this issue on is its final 2 pages. Fraser Irving comes in, and Eva Bell, who was sort of this integral character in Bendis's run, visits Beast.
You mean Eva Bell of the Five?
Yes. Visits Beast and is basically like, hey, I time travel. And this, you thought this was your trial. It's not. And there have been actually a couple of your trials, and this wasn't one of them. So you need to give some serious thought to what, I mean, it's the most effective version of the intervention, because you can tell that he's haunted by what it is that she says, and Irving's art sells it so well.
Yeah, she's saying, you think your friends politely ambushing you in your mansion is the repercussions of your actions? You dummy.
Yeah. And
I'm watching you, bud.
Yes.
No.
It's such a fantastic end, and it's one of these things that, like, you just wish had kind of, like, translated into the next era. And who knows, maybe, one of the writers will come back and bring this particular interaction back again. But it's fantastic. So this issue has a lot of good stuff in it. It also has, like, sort of some weird dorky stuff in it that I don't think flies.
Dorky's the right word to describe a lot of it.
It's idealistic in a way that feels naive, if I'm being harsh, So
listen. We've all had to become a lot more cynical.
Sure, absolutely.
It happens.
However, I do like it. So where's it going?
I don't mind. Listen, our show's called Battle of the Atom. We generally like Bendis' X-Men, I think.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call this one of the best issues of it, though.
No, there are much better arcs.
Where do we have...
I for instance, down at 157 is the last Will and Testament of Charles Xavier. I think that...
Wildly high, honestly.
I think that story is better than this. What do you think?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm looking lower. I think this might make it into 300s, because, okay, so 300 right now is X Factor XL. I think this is probably better than that.
Yeah, I think we're probably in the 200s here. This is probably better than Uncanny 300, which is at 291.
277's Old Man Logan. Old Man Logan's better.
I would agree.
This is better than the Mojo issue of X-Men Black.
Absolutely. It's better than the arc of All New X Factor Stolen Island at 287.
It's not as good as 281 Here Comes Tomorrow, and it's not as good as 282 Magneto.
Yeah, so I think I might give the edge to Wolverine Noir at 284. No, I would give the edge to this. So
yeah, I would. I was gonna say,
yeah.
I'm not gonna fight you too
so
hard.
So better or worse than X-Men: The Exterminated?
I like The Exterminated more.
Okay,
but I think this might be a better story than The Exterminated.
Right.
Like, I don't know how you weigh the culmination of a lot of threads. Even if they aren't done perfectly, versus a well done but unexceptional one shot.
Yeah, no, I agree. I you know what? I would give the edge to Uncanny then. So that would make it our new 283.
That would make it our new number 283 out of 600 X-Men stories.
Crazy.
Adam, we've read so many.
It's awesome. All right. Whew. All right. So those were definitely some Beast war crimes. And
honestly, I only think one of them actually counts as a war crime.
Yeah, that's true.
Of what he did.
That's true.
I think fascism is abhorrent and also a political structure that the Geneva Convention does not explicitly...
Hold on. He was...
Wait, no. Oh, the detention centers are probably a war crime. Let's count it.
Yeah, I think we got 2 out of 3 here.
Again, it's such a weird one-off thing. That story's so weird.
2 out of 3.
It's just... it's just secondhand war crimes. It's just saying they're doing war crimes. He didn't really do a war crime in the trial of Beast. We've covered other war crimes that he's definitely done, so it's fine. We've covered other genocides he's done. It's okay.
Jerky blue guy.
I love Beast. And I want to thank Jarrell Kalla for jumping on the Patreon and throwing a couple of dollars our way to talk about it. This was a fun episode. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Adam, what do you got going on?
I believe my final episode of Chris's on Infinite Earths will be released relatively soon. I'm not sure the exact drop date, but we're talking about the Walt Simonson Art Adams classic Monsters Unleashed for the new Fantastic Four. So make sure you check that out. Other than that, you guys can follow me on Twitter at Arthur Stacy. Zach, what do you got going on?
Nothing. Never find me. I have, if anyone is going to be at the AHR Expo in Las Vegas, talking about the latest in air conditioning, heating, and refrigeration, please do not contact me there. I'm working. Do not find me there at all. If you recognize me, like, nothing. Just, like, don't do anything. Let me do my job in peace. And then also come to the panels where if you do need forward curve blowers for HVAC applications or ventilation, VAV units, single pack verticals, water source heat pumps, really anything that you need to move air over with a forward curve, fractional horsepower motor, come hit me up. I've got a presentation all 3 days of the show.
Wow.
It's going to be a really good time. Go check that out. There's also a happy hour at our booth. Don't come to the happy hour, actually. Don't. I'm not even telling you what booth. There's a lot of happy hours. If you want to try and figure out what company I work for, don't. That's weird.
That was the most amazing pitch ever.
Listen, I've been working on the slides. I actually feel really good about this.
I'm excited. I mean, it sounds like you got something going on. What do we have going on next?
No, it sounds like it's like a comic convention, but worse because I'm working and won't enjoy it.
It doesn't sound as fun.
I got some nice fancy work dinners. It's going to be okay. But next week, to tell you what, we've got a fun one. The new captain of the Marauder, Steve Orlando, is going to be with us to talk about what Steve Orlando's up to and what the pirates are doing. The X-Men pirates that they have now.
Sounds fun.
But until then, folks, this has been Battle of the Atom, and we hope you survived the experience.